Welcome to the Radiant Woman podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Sekinat Alao, and this is the second episode. I'm so happy to be pushing through with this, and I do hope you can hear my excitement. So, today I'll be talking about the power of repetition and why it's so essential that we embrace it. This is going to be a solo episode, so I expect that it will be shorter than the interview style episodes. But get ready for a lot of that anyways in the coming months. Before I continue, I want to say a very big thank you for the show of love on the launch of the podcast, and to everyone who has listened, cheered me on. You all are gold. Like, seriously, I really appreciate you all, and thank you so much. If you're new here, you probably want to go back and listen to the very first episode. Maybe after you finish listening to this one anyways. But the very first episode, I had Sister Latifa Oyefeso at Detoro speak to us on building wealth the halal way, which I believe is very timely and apt, especially as Muslims on our journey to growing our wealth in a way that is pleasing to Allah. And we can only pray that He accepts it from us and makes it easy for us. Ameen. So bringing it back to today's topic, let's get into it. Bismillah. Right, so the power of repetition and why we should embrace it. So this wasn't on my line of topics at all, right? But I'm fast learning to, go with the flow. And when something is constantly on my mind, I'm learning to share as much as I can. So this happened about 2 weeks ago. So my husband was just randomly scrolling through Instagram, and I think there was a video. It was Oprah, and I think she was about to say maybe like her topmost advice and maybe career building or something. I can't really remember the exact topic. And when she eventually said the advice, my husband looked at me and is like, I thought she was going to say something novel or something that grand that we've never heard before, and I just chuckled really, and I'm like, but babe, you know that nothing is new under the sun, right? But I think the whole idea is that you never know which message or who exactly you are going to resonate with, that message is going to hit you like boom. And for me, that's the beauty of repetition, really. It's just profound, really, when you think about it, because most of the things we hear, we read, these days, there are things that we've actually heard before in one way or the other. It might be packaged in a different way, it might have been written in a different form, but most times, we've actually heard or listened to these things in one way or the other, and sometimes we just need that reminder over and over again. And during the course of the conversation with my husband, I made reference to a podcast by Motimeng that I just listened to, I think maybe 2 or 3 days before this whole scenario happened. And I was just to buttress that point of how powerful repetition is. So Motimeng was talking about the final khutbah and its relevance, and he just emphasized how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at different places during Dhul Hijjah, I think on the 9th and on the 10th, he had delivered several messages from the final khutbah using similar words at different places, just to emphasize that message. And this is because, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was known to have that habit of repetition. And every time he had, finished delivering the message, he would ask his ummah and he would say, have I delivered my message? Is it clear to you, my ummah? Just to emphasize that need to repeat the message he was trying to pass across and have it ingrained in the minds of the people at the time. And that just shows us how powerful, repetition is. Just trying to constantly say the same thing, sometimes in a different way, sometimes in the same way, because unconsciously we are taking in those messages, we are taking it in. So even in the Quran, we find verses that say the same thing, they are passing on the same message, perhaps in the same surah or sometimes in a different surah. Do you understand? So we have Surah Al-Rahman, which is saying, which of the favors of my Lord can I deny? Which of the favors of my Lord can I deny? And it's just once, not twice, several times. So at first you might have heard it and, it doesn't really sink in. But when you hear it several times, right, it starts to sink in. Like, really, my Lord is so gracious to me. Which of his favors can I deny? It starts to, resonate with you. It starts to sink into your subconscious. Allah is so, in his infinite wisdom, he knows how powerful repetition is for us as humans, and he has made sure that in his message to us, in this book that he has specifically designed for us, he has repeated key messages for us that he would like us to, learn from and imbibe in our daily lives, right? So repetition can come in form of routine, right? So some of us, we tend to give up at the single attempt at something, be it maybe we're seeking knowledge, or maybe we're trying to perform some certain actions to move us from point 0 to 1, or from point A to B. And particularly if it's not working, when we feel like it's not working, we're quick to give up. But I just want to encourage us that if you're listening today and you feel like, you give up at the slightest opportunity, imbibe and employ repetition and consistency to whatever it is that you're doing. So research actually shows that repetition transfers things from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. So, and what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is that part of the brain that houses all our beliefs and habits concerning every area of our life. It is that zone that has memorized all your comfort zones, all your habits, all your beliefs about yourself and others and the world, and it works to keep you in those beliefs. Anything that tries to take you away from those beliefs, your subconscious will try to fight it. And that is why you need to repeat certain actions, or even if it's something you're listening to, you need to keep repeating it. If it's something that, of course, you're trying to ingrain in yourself, you need to keep repeating it so that over time, your subconscious doesn't fight it as much, and before you know it, your subconscious takes it as real. So I do hope that when I'm talking about repetition, I mean it in the form of trying to imbibe like positive actions, habits, trying to move in a positive manner. Because if you practice or take the power of repetition for negative habits as well, trust me, you will get the same results. So that means you'll be ingraining negative actions or habits into your life. So it's just the same thing. So I do hope that you do know that I am talking about, employing repetition to positive actions. So back to the subconscious, right? Your subconscious is in charge of actions like driving a car, which you can literally do on autopilot after a while, because you've repeatedly done this over and over again. And that's why you find that some people, people can text and drive because their driving is literally now on autopilot, so they are able to do some other things, right? It's in charge of stuff like recalling your password just by merely maybe putting your hand on your laptop or on your phone. I know for sure that has happened to me, severally, where when I'm even actively, consciously trying to remember a password, I can't remember it. But once I just put my hand on my phone or on my laptop, where I'm like normally used to keying that password, it just comes to me natural, and it's like my hand is typing on autopilot, and I'm able to log into the system or whatever it is I was trying to log into. And that is how deep your subconscious is, and that is why, again, you need to employ repetition when you're trying to do something positive in your life. Right, so how does this look in like practical application? How does the power of repetition look when we are looking at it? Okay, how can we apply it to our lives? So, for example, you're reading or listening to information about your faith. Maybe, for example, you're trying to grow your spirituality, and you want to get closer to Allah. You want to know more about Islam. And you're listening or reading to information from various sources, right? And people now, we listen to khutbahs, we listen to Islamic lectures and all that, podcasts and the likes. And you're constantly listening to messages like Allah loves you, Allah's love for mankind, ways you can get closer to Him. And the thing is, the more you listen to those messages, you might feel like, oh, it's not getting you closer to where you want to be. But again, you never know which one is going to hit you. There's some people that, when you listen to their messages, you resonate more with them. So they are able to better pass across that message to you. So you never know which one is going to hit you, and, you are able to go with the flow. So when you continuously listen to stuff like that, even if you can't do everything that maybe has been recommended to you, or you can't implement everything at a go, because obviously you're human, that wouldn't be expected of you, right? But when you keep listening to those maybe sermons, watching those videos, it will eventually imprint on you, right? You start to believe it. You start to believe that, yes, Allah really loves me. You start to think about ways that, Allah has been there for you. He has showed himself to you in one way or the other, right? So they start to imprint on you. You start to believe it, and one day you start taking action towards one or all of, the maybe recommendations, teachings, or whatever it is that you've been listening to. And the thing is, even if you falter, pick yourself up and continue from where you left off, right? And when you repeat the behavior continuously, it becomes better and easier for you, and almost like second nature, right? Another example that I'll give is like, when you're trying to start praying your salat 5 times daily, right? So most of us, we started from maybe Fajr. From there, we moved up to maybe we did that repeatedly for maybe a month, 2, 3, some even just a year, depending on how long it takes you. People are different. Then from there, you move on to Dhuhr, and you continue like that. And that's because you kept repeating the action, and it started becoming easier and easier for you to do, right? Same thing with reading the Quran. Astaghfirullah, I think about a couple of years ago, I wasn't quick to pick up my Quran to read because, number one, my recitation wasn't strong enough. My Arabic wasn't strong enough. So it wasn't something that I always looked forward to. But I started attending classes. I started brushing up my tajweed, reading of the Quran. And now it's way easier for me. So now I hasten to actually read my Quran. It doesn't seem like a chore anymore. And that's because I repeated the action. I always try to read the Quran regularly now, right? And even if I miss a day, I go back to it. It's easier to go back to it because I have applied that power of repetition to my Quran recitation. And this can go for anything in your life, even apart from faith, anything. It might be your studies, it might be your parenting, anything. Let's even take maybe a case of maybe self-worth or confidence, for example. So for example, maybe you don't feel as confident, or maybe you've gone through a season or something that has kind of quenched your confidence or reduced your confidence, but you now start listening and reading to resources on maybe building self-worth, building your self-confidence. Maybe you do seek professional help, right? And you are listening to all these messages from different mediums, but with that central core message of that is telling you that you are worthy, you are valuable, you deserve to be confident, and all those other stuff, right? And after a while, you don't know which one of those messages, which day, which person in particular that was passing across that message would, resonate with you. You never know which one is just going to hit you, and you're like, you know what? I'm actually the shiznit, right? So you never know which one, and that is, again, the beauty of repetition. So basically, that's how powerful repetition is. And sometimes it might feel boring, right? It may feel like, I've heard all these things before. They don't work. It's the same thing I'm hearing over and over again. Can you tell me something new, right? Can you tell me something that I don't know already? But personally, I have found that the biggest changes, the biggest joy, the biggest ease around my affairs have come from repetition and the routine aspects of life. And believe it or not, as someone who used to pride myself in loving spontaneity and not having a plan to a T, I've actually learned the hard way. And, having a routine, which, like I said earlier, is a form of repetition, has brought so much calm and ease to my life. Sincerely, like, I am more at peace. Before, it was like a flurry of activities. It was like I was just always running on a hamster wheel. But subhanallah, since I started having a routine, repeating certain habits every single day, and even if it's not every single day, maybe, but I try to repeat the same habits regularly, I feel less overwhelmed, I feel more grounded, I feel more focused. And I'm sure that if you guys try, if you are not already, putting repetition into some of your actions, your words, or whatever it is that you're doing, please try it out. Please embrace repetition. It is sweet. Seriously. I mean, it doesn't mean that you cannot be spontaneous, right? But like I said, the biggest joy and ease and changes have come from, at least, I would say, maybe out of 100%, having 70% of routine, repetitive, actions. They would help you. They would change your life. Even if you look at Islam as a religion, praying your 5 times salat, it is a form of repetition. Telling us to read the Quran, keep the Quran close to us, is a form of repetition. Giving charity is a form of repetition, no matter how small, right? Is a form of repetition. Most of the things that we are encouraged to do is a form of repetition. Keeping family ties is a form of repetition. So when you think about this holistically, you see how, powerful repetition can be in the life of a human being. So may Allah make it easy for us all. I'm so grateful that I'm able to share this, and I hope you've, learned a thing or two. And even if you've not learned something new, like I said, most of the things we've heard before, but I hope this has served as a reminder for you, right? So thank you so much for listening to this. Please share, please subscribe to the podcast, please rate the podcast. It will mean a lot to me, and it will be a form of encouragement for me as well. I love you all, fisabilillah. I do hope you have an amazing week. Assalamu alaikum. So, you already know that this whole movement, podcast, community is about fueling you to live a joyful life. And that takes work, honestly. It involves being intentional. So, I do not want you to just listen to this and go about your day per usual. I want you to pause and take a minute to think about one thing, one behavior or action that you've had on your radar for a while to embody. And I want you to apply the power of repetition to it from today, from this moment. Take baby steps, whether it's in your marriage, parenting, career, your relationship with your friends and siblings, whatever it is. Take action today. Repeat it at regular intervals. If it's something that needs to be repeated daily, do it. Repeat it the next day and the day after. And I would love to know how you get on. Remember, we're all on this journey together. I am still on this journey. It's a lifelong journey. So please remember to give yourself some grace. And do you notice how I've used a lot of, I repeated a lot of my words in this just to feel that, how important repetition is. So may Allah make it easy for us all. I'm so grateful that I'm able to share this, and I hope you've learned a thing or two. And even if you've not learned something new, like I said, most of the things we've heard before, but I hope this has served as a reminder for you, right? So thank you so much for listening to this. Please share, please subscribe to the podcast, please rate the podcast. It will mean a lot to me, and it will be a form of encouragement for me as well. I love you all, fisabilillah. I do hope you have an amazing week. Assalamu alaikum.